the shocking failure of Greyhound's twin-engine Scenicruiser, 1954 to 56. Between the mid-1950s and mid-1970s, a silent icon ruled America's highways. The Greyhound Scenicruiser, with its sleek deck-and-a-half design, panoramic windows, air conditioning, and onboard restroom, it was hailed as a land yacht for the everyday traveler. But behind its futuristic look was a complicated engineering gamble, one that nearly drove Greyhound to bankruptcy. This isn't just a story about a bus. It's about ambition, innovation, and the high cost of chasing a dream that outpaced reality. Today, we uncover the shocking truth behind one of the most unforgettable vehicles in American transportation history: ambitious vision and groundbreaking design. To truly understand why this bus became an enduring icon in the hearts of Americans, and especially the reason behind the engineering decisions described as insane, we need to go back in time to post-World War II America. After the harsh war years, the United States was undergoing a powerful and dynamic transformation at breakneck speed. The economy was booming, families were growing and expanding rapidly, and federal highways, like giant arteries, began to stretch long and wide across a nation yearning for development and connection. In this golden era, specifically in the early 1950s, Greyhound stood at the pinnacle of America's long-distance passenger transportation industry. They weren't just a bus company transporting passengers. They yearned and wanted to become an icon of travel, an indispensable part of the American dream. However, even at its peak, Greyhound found itself facing increasing challenges from new competitors. Personal cars were becoming more popular, offering unprecedented freedom and convenience to families. At the same time, the airline industry was taking off, attracting more premium passengers who prioritized speed and luxury. Greyhound clearly recognized that it was cornered and needed a miracle. They needed something truly different, a bus that could immediately capture public attention from the very first glance. A machine whose task was not only to transport people from one place to another, but also to inspire journeys, sparking a passion for exploration and adventure. It was in this urgent context that the bold idea of the Scenicruiser was born. To turn this grand dream into a reality, Greyhound didn't hesitate to partner with General Motors, GM, the American automotive giant at the time, to transform this groundbreaking vision into a concrete product. But they didn't stop at the complex engineering aspect. They also sought out a legendary name in industrial design, Raymond Loewy. Loewy was a master designer, the mind behind a host of iconic American products, from the familiar Coca-Cola bottle shape, the emblematic Lucky Strike packaging, to the unique and distinctive Studebaker cars. Loewy not only gave the Scenicruiser aerodynamic elegance and a visually stunning appearance, but also breathed true design soul into this bus, turning it into a mobile work of art. At the same time, Greyhound set out incredibly ambitious requirements for its new bus. They wanted a vehicle that could carry significantly more passengers, offer vastly improved comfort, and stand out completely from all competitors in the market. That's why they requested a bus over 40 feet long, equivalent to 12.19 meters, with two separate seating levels, a panoramic observation deck allowing passengers to admire the scenery, modern air conditioning, a convenient onboard restroom, and especially the ability to travel smoothly and effortlessly on all roads. These were colossal requirements for bus technology at the time, making the Scenicruiser the first production highway bus to reach 40 feet in length, a significant milestone in transportation history. From these challenging and ambitious requirements, a grueling 7-year design and development journey officially began. The result of these relentless efforts was the birth of two incredibly bold prototypes, named GX1 and GX2, which were the direct ancestors of the Scenicruiser we know today. They were not just experimental vehicles, they were powerful symbols of ambition and long-term strategic vision that very few bus companies dared to pursue at the time. The first prototype, GX1, was developed in the late 1940s and officially patented in 1951. It was a true two-story coach, with the upper deck specially designed for sightseeing passengers with expansive views, while the lower deck was for standard seating. Both Raymond Loewy and Greyhound president Orville Caesar were listed on the patent, which underscored the immense importance of both groundbreaking design and bold strategic vision in this project. However, the GX1 ran into a major and serious problem. It was too tall to safely fit into Greyhound's existing bus garages. Although it was 35 feet long, which was standard at the time, its excessive height made it impractical for widespread use across the entire system. Orville Caesar, a steadfast leader who always prioritized practicality, quickly ordered a complete redesign of the vehicle. The result of that redesign was the birth of the GX2, a true breakthrough in bus design history. The GX2 was no longer a full two-story vehicle, but a unique and innovative deck-and-a-half design. The front part of the bus had an elevated section for sightseeing, offering excellent views for passengers, while the rear part was designed to be significantly lower for easier maintenance, and more importantly, to reduce the overall height of the vehicle. This bus stretched to 40 feet, a size far beyond the standards of the era, and it paved the way for a new generation of highway buses, reshaping the transportation industry. To achieve this, Greyhound had to spend years actively lobbying states to change bus length limit laws, which were set at 35 feet in most states in the early 1950s. The GX2 was used as a demonstration vehicle for its excellent maneuverability as an important part of this lobbying process. Technically, the GX2 was equipped with a powerful Detroit diesel 671 inline 6-cylinder engine, combined with a non-synchronized 4-speed manual transmission and a 2-speed splitter, high and low, giving the driver a total of 8 forward gears. Its advanced centralized hydraulic system powered everything, from windshield wipers to smooth power steering and powerful brakes. Although still in the testing phase, the GX2 was very close to the final Scenicruiser we know. Interestingly, the patent for the GX2 no longer listed Raymond Loewy. Instead, it listed Albert Bohr, a GM design engineer. However, Loewy's firm continued to be deeply involved in the overall design and aesthetics of the bus. In many ways, the Scenicruiser was born from a continuous, challenging, yet creative dialogue between engineering, aesthetics, and harsh operational realities. When official production began in 1954, the Scenicruiser was not just a beautiful bus, it was the result of 7 years of relentless effort from both Greyhound and GM's truck and coach division. Greyhound invested heavily to make the Scenicruiser America's mobile hotel, a luxurious and comfortable travel experience on long journeys. The first impression upon entering the vehicle came from the stunning panoramic glass design on the upper deck. Passengers seated on the upper deck not only enjoyed superior elevated views, but were also surrounded by large glass panels, creating the sensation of gliding through the American landscape in a glass observation car. Children often scrambled for the coveted front seats, where they could look directly out the front windshield, a wide-open and unique view that hardly any other vehicle offered at the time. The seating on the Scenicruiser was also meticulously and carefully designed, down to the smallest detail. Greyhound and Raymond Loewy together selected a special, multicolored woven fabric with a unique crossweave pattern. The goal of this choice was not only aesthetic, but also highly practical. They wanted a fabric that could effectively hide stains and wear over time. This helped the bus maintain a clean and tidy appearance, even after serving thousands of passengers each year, preserving its premium image. For comfort, the Scenicruiser was equipped with modern air conditioning, a special ventilation system to draw out tobacco smoke, very important at AI time when passengers were still allowed to smoke on board, and even a private onboard restroom, a true luxury rarely seen in that era. The air conditioning vents were cleverly placed to ensure even airflow throughout the cabin, providing maximum comfort for all passengers. Meanwhile, ceiling vents helped filter the air, maintaining a fresh environment. The underfloor luggage compartment was designed to be extremely spacious, allowing for large suitcases and bulky cargo, meeting all long-distance passenger needs. Additionally, some premium Scenicruiser routes even had onboard attendants, a service unheard of for regular intercity bus service, making it a unique experience. All these elements combined to create a unique and unforgettable rolling hotel experience for passengers, elevating bus travel to an entirely new level. A risky engineering leap. When official production began in 1954, the Scenicruiser was not merely a beautiful and well-appointed bus. It was truly a bold, almost reckless engineering leap. Greyhound and GMC did not choose the safe, cautious path, which was the usual route in the transportation industry. Instead, they equipped the Scenicruiser with one of the most unusual drivetrain systems ever installed in a large-scale commercial vehicle: the use of two diesel engines running in parallel. So, why dual engines? The reason behind this decision seemed simple but was fraught with challenges and complexity. At the time, GM did not have a suitable V8 diesel engine to equip large buses, a type of powerful and reliable engine that was then popular. And certainly, they would never install a competitor's engine in their flagship vehicle, their pride and joy. So, what started as merely a temporary solution to overcome an engine shortage quickly became permanent, a fateful decision for the Scenicruiser. The Scenicruiser was equipped with two GM Detroit diesel 471 engines, each with 4 cylinders, operating on a 2-stroke cycle. These two engines were cleverly placed in parallel at the rear of the bus and connected via an advanced fluid coupling. Each engine then fed power into a non-synchronized 3-speed Spicer manual transmission, combined with a 2-speed splitter, including high and low ranges, giving the driver a total of 6 forward gears to operate the vehicle. In theory, this configuration sounded logical and offered significant flexibility in adjusting power for different driving conditions. It was even praised not only as a great source of power, but also as a critical backup feature. Greyhound designed the bus to be able to run on just one engine if one of the two engines failed, and they even stockpiled engines along Scenicruiser routes for this purpose, demonstrating their faith in the idea. However, in harsh real-world operations, this dual-engine design created countless headaches and complexities that no one had foreseen. Not just the dual-engine system, but the entire Scenicruiser, from its brakes and power steering to its windshield wipers, was operated by the same complex, centralized hydraulic system. This system contained up to 7 gallons of hydraulic fluid and was sometimes pressurized to 1,500 psi. Although, in theory, it was expected to facilitate smooth operation and modernize auxiliary systems, reduce friction, and improve responsiveness, it also made maintenance much more difficult in practice. This complexity became a constant underlying headache for the Scenicruiser. The choice of 2 Detroit diesel 471 engines, each with only 4 cylinders, was ultimately seen as a reluctant compromise by GM, because the company did not yet have a suitable V8 diesel engine for its bus line. What began as a temporary engineering solution quickly became the Scenicruiser's Achilles heel, a fatal weakness that would cause countless problems in the future. The lack of a more powerful, reliable engine from the outset forced GM and Greyhound down a risky engineering path, which they would later pay dearly for. Mechanical nightmare. We're going to explore the mechanical nightmare that plagued this iconic bus and pushed Greyhound into a real crisis. Complex driving operation. First and most obvious was the issue of an extremely complex and skill-demanding driving operation. Drivers had to perform the double clutch technique every time they shifted gears. This was significantly different from other Greyhound bus models at the time, which typically used a much simpler, conventional 4-speed manual transmission. The double clutch technique on the Scenicruiser was not only extremely complex, but also demanding in terms of driver precision and patience, and even potentially dangerous if not performed correctly. This original transmission proved to be a major hindrance for drivers, especially with the continuous double clutching requirement, causing fatigue and prone to errors. Engine synchronization. Problems. Second, and this was the Scenicruiser's true Achilles heel, was the mandatory requirement that both engines had to maintain perfect synchronization. If these two engines went out of phase even slightly, whether due to a technical glitch or incorrect adjustment, the bus would immediately shake violently, suffer significant power loss, or even worse, tear its own drivetrain apart. Sources describe vibrations so severe they were unbearable, instances of sudden breakdowns on the road, and serious failures occurring more frequently than anyone expected. A retired Greyhound driver recounted an incredible story of having to push a dead Scenicruiser uphill with his Silverside bus because the Scenecruiser's dual engines were out of sync, making it nearly impossible to climb the hill on its own. He also said the bus sometimes couldn't get over long hills if the engines were out of phase. While in theory, having two engines was considered an excellent backup feature, allowing the bus to run on one engine if the other failed, in reality, losing an engine was not a pleasant experience. If the right engine failed, the air conditioning would stop working, turning the bus into a 160 horsepower sweatbox. Conversely, if the left engine failed, you'd be driving a 160 horsepower box with air conditioning but no power steering, an extremely heavy experience. Additionally, you'd have to cap the exhaust of the failed engine to prevent the working engine's cooling fan from sucking debris into the dead engine, causing further damage. Amateur mechanic, driver. Errors. Things got even worse as many drivers, considering themselves amateur mechanics, tried to adjust the bus's engines themselves. Just a few turns of a wrench here or there with the intention of making the bus run smoother or stronger. But if both engines weren't perfectly balanced, these adjustments ruined the delicate balance and led to serious misalignment between the two engines. This created a vicious cycle of technical problems. Incompetent maintenance centers. The problem wasn't just with the drivers. Greyhound's maintenance centers were often poorly trained and poorly equipped. They were incapable of effectively maintaining such a complex dual-engine configuration. Spare parts for this system were scarce, and more importantly, there were almost no clear procedures established for maintaining this challenging dual-engine system. The necessary diagnostic tools and specialized techniques were also inadequate. This turned Scenecruiser maintenance into a constant headache due to the inherent complexity of the system and the unimproved technology to cope with it. As a result, hundreds of Scenecruisers often ran with only half a heartbeat functioning normally, or worse, both engines malfunctioning. Technical breakdowns occurred frequently, service delays became common, and customer confidence in Greyhound began to erode alarmingly. Hydraulic nightmare. If the dual-engine configuration was the biggest headache, the centralized hydraulic system was the Scenecruiser's constant underlying migraine. In an effort to modernize and streamline auxiliary systems, Greyhound equipped the Scenecruiser with an incredibly advanced hydraulic network. On paper, the idea sounded great. 7 gallons of high-pressure hydraulic fluid, operating at up to 1,500 psi, replaced many traditional mechanical linkages. The idea was to reduce friction, improve responsiveness, and create a smoother, more luxurious experience for passengers. However, in practice, it was a maintenance disaster waiting to happen. Unlike today's modular systems, the Scenecruiser's hydraulic system was entirely centralized. That meant a single leak or component failure could cripple multiple functions at once. Lose pressure in one area, and suddenly you had no brakes, or no wipers, or no power steering. The system severely lacked redundancy and put immense pressure on maintenance teams to catch issues early before they became critical. The problem was exacerbated because most Greyhound garages were not equipped to handle this complex high-pressure hydraulic system. Leaks were difficult to trace, contamination of hydraulic fluid was common, and repairs were neither quick nor easy. Drivers often found themselves stranded due to minor glitches that could lead to complete system failure. Imagine driving into a depot in the middle of a rainstorm, only to find the wipers weren't working, the brakes were loose, and the steering was stiff as a rusted anchor. That was a more frequent Scenecruiser experience than Greyhound wanted to admit. To make matters more complicated, replacement parts were not standardized across the entire fleet. Different batches of Scenecruisers had slightly different hydraulic configurations. This meant mechanics had to adapt quickly, often with limited documentation causing stress, confusion, and prone to errors. Structural problems. In addition to engine and hydraulic issues, early Scenecruiser models also experienced frame cracks and body flex, especially around the rear windows. These structural problems suggested that the overall design of the vehicle might not have been robust enough to withstand the loads and stresses of long-haul operation. Outdated clutch. The Scenecruiser's original clutch was electrically operated, a technology that was not truly perfected at the time. This often caused unpleasant jerks when the bus started and shifted gears, leaving both passengers and drivers dissatisfied with the driving experience. This issue was later resolved by replacing it with a more traditional and reliable mechanical clutch linkage. Greyhound was facing a full-blown logistical crisis. Service delays were mounting, repair costs skyrocketed uncontrollably, and passenger satisfaction dropped alarmingly. Clearly, something had to change, and soon, before their reputation was completely ruined. Which technical problem of the Scenicruiser do you find most surprising, and why? Share your thoughts in the comments. Historic upgrade program. Greyhound's situation had become unacceptably dire, forcing them to act decisively. To salvage their Scenicruiser fleet and, more importantly, restore their eroding reputation, Greyhound had to launch a nationwide upgrade program. This was not just a regular maintenance program, but one of the largest upgrade programs in the history of commercial bus transportation in the U.S. An unprecedented scale, reflecting the severity of the problems Greyhound was facing. The scale of this program was truly astonishing. All 1,001 Scenecruisers were slated for conversion, or 979 remaining, depending on the exact figures at the time. The total cost for this massive upgrade program amounted to over $13 million, an enormous sum in the early 1960s. This upgrade was primarily carried out by Marmon Harrington Corporation in 1961 to 1962, a testament to the project's scale and urgency. Drivetrain overhaul. The main focus of the upgrade program was a comprehensive drivetrain overhaul. As mentioned, all 1,001 Scenecruisers had their original two 471 engines, replaced with a single Detroit diesel 8V71 V8 engine. The 8V71 engine was a significantly more powerful unit, 318 horsepower compared to a total of 320 horsepower from the two 471 engines. And more importantly, much more reliable and much easier to maintain. Interestingly, the 8V71 engine itself originated from the problems GM faced trying to make the dual 471 engine configuration work stably on buses. With just one engine but significantly higher power, the bus became mechanically simpler, while maintaining and even improving operational performance. This change fundamentally solved the engine synchronization problem and significantly reduced the maintenance burden. Transmission upgrade. Alongside the engine replacement, the original 3-speed transmission with a 2-speed splitter, which had caused difficulties for drivers, especially with constant double clutching, was replaced with a more standard 4-speed non-synchronized manual transmission. This new transmission was similar to what Greyhound was already using on other coaches at the time, making it easier for drivers to adapt and, more importantly, reducing breakdowns due to shifting errors. This significantly improved the driving experience and minimized operational risks. Hydraulic system simplification. Additionally, some of the more complex hydraulic systems were also significantly simplified. The goal was to reduce the continuous maintenance burden and fix the leakage and contamination issues that had been plaguing them. The windshield wipers, a minor but annoying problem, were also changed to a pantograph design, ensuring they maintained full contact with the windshield for better visibility in all weather conditions. Although the Scenecruiser's iconic exterior remained largely unchanged, inside it was completely transformed from a complex machine into a much more reliable vehicle. These upgrades not only helped restore Greyhound's shaky reputation, but also extended the lifespan of the entire Scenecruiser fleet. Many Scenecruisers continued to operate well into the mid-1970s, far exceeding their original expected service life, a testament to the effectiveness of the upgrade program. The technical upgrades truly made the Scenecruiser significantly more durable and reliable. After being rebuilt and improved, the name Super Scenecruiser proudly replaced the name Scenecruiser on the side of each coach, marking a new era of stability and performance. However, despite extensive reinforcements and upgrades, structural issues persisted. Frame cracks around the side rear windows continued to appear stubbornly, indicating inherent weaknesses in the original design that had not been fully resolved. Greyhound's frustration with GM was so significant that they even sent a Scenicruiser to Germany for Mercedes to install their diesel engines and test it on the Autobahn, an act that demonstrated their level of desperation with the ongoing technical problems. Although the Scenicruiser quickly became an icon, it remained a constant major headache for both Greyhound and GM for many years. The availability rate of Scenecruisers plummeted due to too many buses breaking down and being out of service, severely impacting Greyhound's business operations. If you were a Greyhound passenger at the time, would these upgrades have been enough to restore your trust in the Scenecruiser? Comment yes or no and why. Enduring legacy. Despite its mechanical woes, the Scenecruiser became an icon. While mechanics cursed its inner workings, passengers loved the Scenecruiser's looks. Stepping inside one of these shiny giants, you were immediately greeted by a spectacle unlike any other bus. From the multicolored seat upholstery to the gentle hum of the air conditioning, the Scenecruiser offered the sensation of a train observation car, blended with the intimacy of a premium lounge. Design and passenger experience. The deck and a half, layout with elevated seating and wraparound glass, not only created unique views but also inspired many subsequent bus designs. The clearest example is the GMC Buffalo bus. Its successor launched in the late 1960s, which carried clear design DNA from the Scenecruiser. The Scenecruiser's influence went beyond its appearance. It set new standards for the modern inner-city coach. Air conditioning, onboard restrooms, large luggage compartments, and even onboard attendants. Things once considered luxuries in the 1950s gradually became standard in long-distance travel in America. Deteriorating relationship with GM and the rise of MCI. The problems with the Scenecruiser severely damaged the relationship between Greyhound and GMC. Greyhound never ordered another Scenecruiser after the initial batch of 1,000 buses was contracted. In 1958, Greyhound Corporation purchased a majority stake in Motor Coach Industries, MCI, in Canada, and by 1961 they owned the entire company. This led to the cessation of their need for GMC coaches by 1968. Greyhound's halt in GMC orders caused GMC's sales to decline severely as both Greyhound and Trailways began manufacturing their own coaches. Additionally, GM also faced an antitrust lawsuit in 1956, and under the ruling, they were forced to sell their diesel engines to competitors. This opened the door for other bus manufacturers like Flexible and Beck, who began introducing similar models, trying to imitate the Scenecruiser design. GM withdrew from the new coach market after producing its 1980 models. The Scenecruiser was not a perfect vehicle, but for many, it symbolized a bygone era, cross-country journeys, and an America constantly moving forward. It started with bold but risky engineering choices. Dual diesel engines, a non-synchronized transmission, and a complex hydraulic system. It frustrated both drivers and mechanics, and forced Greyhound to undertake one of the largest upgrade programs in its history. Cultural impact and nostalgia. The Scenecruiser left an indelible impression on Americans. It was considered everyone's favorite bus except Greyhound and GM. This bus was the only bus that children and ordinary people could recognize. Many passengers grew up with fond memories of the Scenecruiser, especially children scrambling for the front seats on the upper deck to sightsee. One reader recounted his friend as a child, excitedly pointing out, "Look, a Scenecruiser," a phrase rarely heard about any other bus model. In art, music, and literature, the Scenecruiser also appeared in many works of popular culture. John Kennedy Toole's Pulitzer Prize-winning novel, A Confederacy of Dunces, contains haunting references to a traumatic Scenecruiser ride. Country singer Hoyt Axton used a modified 1955 Scenecruiser as his tour bus in the 1970s and 80s, and even wrote a song about it called An Old Greyhound. Scenecruiser 472, a 1955 model, gained regional fame as the tour bus for the Mission Mountain Wood Band from the mid-1970s to 1987, reportedly traveling over 2 million miles and still operating well in 2014. Today, only a few Scenecruisers remain. Approximately 200 were still in operation when Greyhound phased them out around 1975. Many were converted into motorhomes. Other owners are bus enthusiasts who have restored their buses to like-new condition. The first production Scenicruiser, PD 4501-001, was sold for an astonishing $650,000. Despite being a technical disaster, this bus became an enduring icon, a testament to innovation, ambition, and an unrepeatable experience. If you've had the chance to experience a ride on a Scenicruiser or have a personal story about this iconic bus, share it in the comments below. We'd love to hear your memories. And that's the shocking truth behind Greyhound's twin-engine Scenicruiser bus. A machine born from ambition and ultimate innovation, facing seemingly insurmountable technical challenges, but ultimately reshaping the entire long-distance passenger transportation industry. Today, if you're lucky enough to spot a Scenicruiser at a classic car show, or proudly rolling down the highway, take a moment to tip your hat. It's not just a bus, it's an icon, a pioneer, a rolling monument to an era where travel was not just a destination, but a true experience, a memorable adventure. If you've ever sat beneath those panoramic windows or heard the roar of its engines on the highway, you probably still remember and will never forget.
If I missed anything, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the Who Remembers channel for more fascinating automotive stories coming soon. Thanks for watching, and see you on the next journey.